got, is it Ryan from Milwaukee?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Ryan.
Is this Ryan?
Yes.
How are you?
Good.
What can we do for you, Ryan?
Well, I was wondering, what do you think about, can a belief in God be beneficial to a person? Do you think yes or no?
Sure. But obviously we're atheists, so we don't think that overall it's beneficial. But sure, you can point to specific things where it might be helpful, like being accepted by your community. That could be helpful. Did you have some particular kind of benefit in mind?
I was just thinking like it would give someone a sense of satisfaction and maybe a purpose.
Okay. Sure, it could do that.
Okay.
Is that all you wanted? I mean,
well, yeah.
Like I said, we're atheists. We've looked at the issue, and we think the costs outweigh the benefits. And one of the big costs is you wind up believing something that there's really no good reason to.
Okay, but what is exactly bad about believing something that there's no good reason to?
Well, are you familiar with the state of evolution education in the United States?
Yes.
That's driven by a bunch of people who believe something for no good reason, and thinking it's important then to get other people to believe the same thing, and as it comes into conflict with something there is a good reason to believe, which is evolution, and that's an unnecessary conflict.
And I think there's another example too that you might think of, because we've never said that there's no benefit. You could find benefits for almost anything. There's a benefit to taking heroin. You feel good for a while. But my concern is more about truth. For example, and you asked, kind of what's the harm in believing something if it makes you feel good? Well, what if you believed that you had won the lottery? You didn't have any good evidence, and you didn't have any reason to think that it was actually true, but you believed that you won the lottery. What you believe is going to change how you act. Or you're going to go on and you might feel good. Hey, all of a sudden I'm rich. But if you start acting as if you're rich when you're actually not, then you're doing harm long term. You're going to run up bills and spend money you don't have and find yourself in a terrible situation afterwards.
Right. So that happy feeling has a cost. That's what we're talking about.
Though.
How's that?
Well, because, like you said, if you think you won the lottery and then you run up bills and whatever, it's going to come back and get you.
Yeah.
But when it comes to a belief in God, you'll never know until you die.
Well,
so it doesn't really...
But it's not... The consequences of religious belief here in the U.S. are, things like the interference with evolution education, which is a consequence that is happening now. We don't have to wait until Christians die in order to find out whether they were correct in interfering with the teaching of evolution. This is a problem now.
More specific than believing in a God, because
well,
many people who believe in God, maybe even the Pope does. I mean,
but beliefs have implications, and the rejection. There are of course people who believe in God that accept evolution, right? But a lot of them don't. And the ones that may think that evolution is okay, even though they believe in God, may reject medicine. We've got what is that? Christians that are against taking medicine and wind up killing their kids.
Christian Scientists.
Christian Scientists. Right? These are all, those other beliefs that are related to the belief in God are part of an entire belief system that naturally forms around any view that you have. And if the core of it is not true, all of this stuff is unnecessary. But there are problems that are caused right here and now. It's not simply a question of, well, maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, and they'll find out when they die.
I mean, do you have, I'm assuming that you perhaps have some belief in a God.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Now, does your particular belief, because you seem to be asking, is it possible to have a benign belief in a God?
Yeah, that's right.
Sure. And as far as I can tell, it's largely irrelevant. And there are a lot of people who believe in a God who completely separate that or segregate it so that it doesn't affect any decisions that they're going to make. And if you can actually do that to that extent, then my response is, okay, what's the point? I mean, what is it? I mean, if you just believe something because it makes you feel good.
Well, the point is because it makes you feel good. I mean, what's a bigger point than that?
Right. If somebody never took actions that were based on that belief, my only objection would be that they believe something that's not demonstrably true. And I don't necessarily.
Why object to that even?
Well,
because that is objected to on principle. It could be. You could find somebody who believes in a God, but acts as if that God does not exist. It doesn't change their behavior, doesn't react to situations they encounter in life any differently than someone who does not believe in that God. That's possible. And maybe you're one of those people. But a lot of people aren't, and that doesn't change the fact that fundamentally it's better to believe true things than false things. Or better, let me rephrase that and say it's better to believe things that you have a good reason to believe instead of just believing things that make you feel good. There's all kinds of things you could believe just because they make you feel good, and a lot of those things, if you really believe them, are going to change the way that you behave, and if the things you're believing that because they feel good are not true, then the changes that they make in your behavior are going to be counterproductive. Now, that principle is valid even if you can find isolated cases of people whose belief in the God is so minimal that it doesn't affect their behavior at all.
Okay.
Now, can I ask a quick question? Do you think it would
Sure.
would you prefer to have your beliefs be consistent with reality? Because what you seem to be describing is what's wrong with me having a comfortable delusion? And my response is, if you enjoy having a comfortable delusion, that's your prerogative.